This is the Social Factor.
Welcome, everybody. It is March 18th, 2008, and we are back with the Social Factor. So today's episode is if you tuned in last week, we talked about forensic science, and we had my fiance Stephanie here, who is a forensic scientist. She holds an Associates of Applied Science degree in forensic science. She kind of talked to us about forensic science and all about the tools and whatnot. And we also discussed Jeffrey Dahmer, who's a serial killer from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we were going to do Ed Gein last week. However, we did not have the time because, we had like 10 minutes left. And we didn't really think that we could fit Ed Gein into a 10-minute time slot, being that Ed Gein has movies after about his life and stuff like that.
About his characteristics.
Exactly. So we thought, you know what, let's just finish it up with Jeffrey Dahmer, and we'll do Ed Gein this week. So, unfortunately, my fiancée Stephanie could not be here for this episode, so it is just me and David today.
Hi, guys.
And, of course, my dog Charlie, who is snorting in the background because he is pawing his face, itching himself. So, we're going to talk about Ed Gein on this episode. This is episode 10 of season 1.
Which covers, of course, one of the more known serial killers.
Exactly. And we are going to be planning an episode where we discuss a serial killer that has never been caught, and we will we're going to be bringing Stephanie back on for that episode because she loves the story of this, and she's working on research and stuff like that, and I won't say what it is at this point, but we're very much looking forward to that. So anyway. We are going to get in with Ed Gein. So, David actually has the research right in front of him right now.
Just trying to get updated from last week when I read about it.
Yeah, okay. Last week we actually, like I said, we actually did the research a couple weeks ago because we were expecting to do Jeffrey and Ed Gein at the same time. So we've been already brushed up on this way ahead of time since we decided to push the Ed Gein show back to this week.
Yep.
So David, since you have the script, can you tell us a little bit about the the beginning of the Ed Gein's life and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure, I will. He was a notorious killer and grave robber. His activities inspired the creation of some of the film's most infamous characters, including Norman Bates of Psycho and Silence of the Lamb, also the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I'm going to tell you a little about where he's from. He was born in 1906 in Wisconsin. Ed Gein grew up in a repressive household dominated by a controlling mother. Following her death in 1945, his mental health disintegrated after Gein was apprehended as a suspect in a 1957 murder. The investigation of his home yielded a highly disturbed man who kept human organs and fashioned clothing and accessories out of body parts. He spent the rest of his life institutionalized, his story fueling the inspiration of such famous movies as Norman Bates' Psycho,
which we already talked about.
Yes. James Gump, The Silence of the Lamb, and Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes. I just want to step in here for a second. The movies, the classic movies, Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre were all based off of Ed Gein. I know you said that, but I'm just reaffirming it here.
Fine.
Psycho is the one that was most most based off of Ed Gein. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was based off of the character was based off of Ed Gein, but the movie itself was not You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was an offshoot from the actual.
Yeah, it was loosely based on his life.
Yeah.
Basically, you know how how the guy that I forget Leatherface. He kills the people and then he basically takes their skin and wears it as a mask.
Yep.
And that's literally exactly what Ed Gein did. So the character Leatherface is based off of Ed Gein. However, the entire movie is just very loosely based off of Ed Gein.
Correct.
And then The Silence of the Lambs, that movie is actually that has the serial killer Hannibal Lecter. Now, many people don't know this, and I didn't even know it until about a year ago.
Jam Gump was the bad guy, though.
What?
Jam Gump was the guy that was oiling their skin.
Right.
He was that weird guy.
Yeah.
Okay? He was
yeah. But, yes, I mean, Silence of the Lambs featured Hannibal Lecter. Now, like I said, I didn't know this till like a year ago. Hannibal Lecter was not actually a real life serial killer. He was a serial killer that was actually made up based off of Ed Gein.
Correct. But so was the other guy.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, you know, that, Hannibal Lecter, like I said, because that was the serial killer in this movie.
Yep.
And some people don't know that he was actually not a real serial killer, because I didn't even know that.
But just to was it reiterate, the movie The Silence of the Lamb, Hannibal Lecter kind of became a source for the main character. Okay.
Right.
To find this guy, James Gump, it was really about him.
I've seen Silence of the Lambs, but I don't remember that character.
You don't remember the guy that had the women down the well, and he had the saying like, you know, put it on your skin, you know, stuff. He was the one that was based on Ed Gein.
We're talking about the movie with Jodie Foster, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that the police was after. Because Hannibal Lecter was already in...
Oh, yes! Now
you.
I remember... Yeah, Hannibal Lecter was already in... Now I'm starting to remember this. Hannibal Lecter, he was already in jail, but
James Gump.
But Jodie Foster, her character kept going there because she wanted to talk to him to kind of get...
He became kind of an indirect consultant.
Basically an insight into how to catch this guy.
Yeah, because he was a serial killer himself.
Okay, yeah. Now I'm starting to recollect this movie, because before I'm like, who the heck is James Gump?
He was the main subject. He's the one that they try to find. He, too, represented some of Ed Gein's, I guess, habits.
Right.
Okay, or his characteristics of killing people.
Yeah.
Let me continue though. Okay. The thing about Edward Theodore Gein.
That was his full name.
Yeah. Was his upbringing. It was a very repressive upbringing. Now he was born again on August 27th of 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. The son of George, a timid alcoholic father, and Augusta, a fanatical religious mother. Gein grew up alongside his older brother Henry in a household ruled by his mother's puritanical preachings about the sins of lust and carnal desires. So she was very much kind of destroying any normalcy of sexuality for both Henry and Ed himself. Often that results into some very debilitating emotional issues.
Yeah,
okay?
She was basically saying, hey, you're not allowed to be friends with any girls, be romantically involved with any girls. I'm the only woman in your life.
That's right, and that's exactly what Josh just said actually happened. Okay, around 1915, Augusta moved the family to a farm outside of Plainfield, Wisconsin. Gein rarely left the farm except for attending school. Okay, after George died in 1940, Ed and Henry Gein began working more odd jobs to support the family. In 1944, the brothers were burning brush on the property when the fire raged out of control. Henry was found dead, and although it was initially believed to be the result of the fire, the circumstances surrounding his death, as well as Gein's later activities, led to conjecture that the younger brother was responsible. So if you talk about Ed Gein, this was his truly first victim.
His brother.
His brother.
His own brother.
Yep, his brother. And who knows why? Well, actually, Henry...
Maybe because he didn't want to share his mother with his
No,
brother.
actually the opposite. Henry was actually to a point with his mother, her obsessive behavior, her controlling behavior, that he told his brother that he was done with her, he doesn't believe anything she says, and Ed went into a rage.
So basically, he wanted to basically go against his mother's wishes, his younger brother, and basically get a girlfriend and all this stuff. But Ed was like, nope, because basically she had in Ed's head that she didn't obviously she didn't get to the younger brother's head because he didn't want to go with this.
No,
but,
his older brother.
Yeah,
his older brother was Henry.
His older brother.
Yeah,
but she got into Ed's head and made his mindset. Absolute mindset be that she was the only woman to be in his life, and he did not like that.
And we'll get into this. I mean, the monster comes out, okay?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a description of how he became the monster and when did he come out. Obsessively devoted to his mother, Gein never left home or dated women. However, after she died in 1945, which of course is a special year for everyone over there.
1945?
Yeah, it's the end of World War II.
Oh, okay.
Okay. He became increasingly deranged. Now living alone, he left her room neat and untouched while the rest of the home fell into squalor, and he developed an interest in anatomy books. Okay. Now, Gein managed to support himself as a handyman, and despite his odd behavior as a babysitter, can you believe that?
Dear,
oh my God!
Having that man watch kids.
Meanwhile, a few residents from the general area had mysteriously disappeared over the years. Among them was Mary Hogan, who ran a tavern in nearby Pine Grove that Gein regularly frequented. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I mean, when I read this originally, I couldn't believe I was reading it. Why would anyone allow...
It's like a bunch of crap right out of a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, listen, people trust you, and I've done it. I've babysitted before by myself with several kids. I guess knowing what we know about this man and to read this makes it a little more difficult to comprehend why someone would let this man...
They had to have not known about his...
Well, they already said he became deranged.
Well, then, okay.
By that point, so his behavior was very odd. Why would any parent allow this deranged individual to even babysit unless he was really good at covering his tracks? Meaning, covering his disability.
Right.
Okay?
Isn't that called sociopathic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, as someone that has no emotion, but I don't believe he was.
Okay.
I believe he had so much emotion that was cooped up that the only way that he could deal with it was, in ways that were very violent and at the end murderous.
Right.
So, there was this woman, one of his victims, her name was Bernice Warden. On November 16th, 1957, Bernice Warden was reported missing from her hardware store in Plainfield, Wisconsin, with the cash register also gone and a trail of blood leading out back. Her son Frank, a deputy, was suspicious of Gein, and the reclusive man was soon apprehended at a neighbor's house. The authorities sent to Gein's home that night were greeted by the gruesome sight of a warden's headless, gutted body hanging from the ceiling. Further investigation yielded more shocking discoveries, including organs in jars and skulls used as soup bowls.
So, I mean, he was similar to Jeffrey Dahmer, but holy crap did he blow way out of the lake with that.
Now, let's be honest, his body count was only 3 total, including Henry.
Oh.
However, the way the level that he got caught real early in his murderous career.
Okay.
Under questioning, Gein confessed to killing Warden and Mary Hogan 3 years earlier. Additionally, he admitted to digging up numerous corpses for cutting off body parts, practicing necrophilia, and fashioning masks and suits out of skin to wear around the home. With that sort of evidence, authorities attempted to connect him to other murders and disappearances from recent years, but were unable to draw any definitive conclusion. Okay, Gein's lawyer, William Belter, entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, and in January 1958, Gein was found unfit to stand trial. He was committed to Central State Hospital, where he variously worked as a mason, carpenter assistant, and medical center aide. I don't know if I want him to work on me, man.
This guy was given all the wrong jobs, basically.
Well, he was very handy, okay? I mean, you can't take that away from the man. I mean, he was a handyman, so that's how him and his brother supported his mom for how many years. In early 1968, Ed Gein was determined fit to finally stand trial. So we're talking 1958, 10 years later, 1968. Okay, that November he was found guilty of the murder of Bernice Warden. However, he was also found insane at the time of the murder, and as such, he was recommitted to Central State Hospital. So nothing changed for him. Okay. Save for his attempted attempt to petition for release in 1974, which was rejected. The mild-mannered Gein made virtually no news while institutionalized. Later that decade, his health was failing. He was transferred to the Mendota Mental Health Institute, where he died of cancer and respiratory illness.
Mendota, that's in Madison.
Yes. On July 26th of 1984. So he died from both cancer and pulmonary or respiratory illness.
Okay.
So that was pretty much the story of Gein. Now,
because did he eat some of his victims?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
What he did is the one thing, there's an image of, I believe is Mary Hogan, or is it Bernice Monroe? I don't remember now.
I think.
Yeah, it was the last one. It was Bernice.
Okay.
Bernice. Warden. Bernice Warden. When they discovered her body, you know, they have images, especially on the internet, about how she appeared. And if you look at it, her head is gone. She has been gutted, meaning cut just like a deer and hung like a deer to bleed out.
Yeah, and this image will be put on our Facebook page in a couple weeks. I'm a little bit behind on putting the research on there, but just keep in mind, viewer discretion is advised with this image.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. I mean, you know, this guy treated human beings like they were deers, okay, or deer. And I know there's no S on the end of in the plural of deer. It's still deer.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of odd. This language sometimes confuses me.
Hey, look at that deer. Hey, look at all those deer.
Yeah, that's weird. You figure it'd be an S at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, look at all those deers.
Deers. I mean, that sounds a lot better. However, that would be incorrect.
Incorrect.
We'll move on from there. So, you know, Ed Gein, you know, the thing that gets me, and I think what drove him in part to where he ended up, was, you know, you're looking at the dynamics of his home. You know, his father, even though they say he was timid, he was actually very abusive. He was an angry drunk. Okay, his mother, a control freak, a religious freak, or a fanatic religious person, who really distorted the children's image of what women were like, So if you think about it, in a way, you have to kind of go to the beginning and what Ed and Henry went through, was this really nasty mother. And of course, the father, he was timid in a way that he couldn't stand up to his wife. So therefore, he drank a lot. And it's really kind of sad for them. But it's also classic for people who end up becoming either mass murderers or serial killers, okay? And as I said before in another show, the commonality between Ed Gein also kind of compares to Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, and I forget who the Khmer Rouge leader was in Cambodia back in the late 70s into the 80s. But they killed over 3 million people in a span of 6 months, so that's pretty nasty. So these personalities, or these personality traits, are very common amongst these individuals who cause either a lot of harm to others or to sometimes nations. Both Hitler and Joseph Stalin had the same setup: an abusive father, an overbearing mother, or a smothering mother. In Ed Gein's situation, it was almost similar. The father was a mean alcoholic. So I'm sure the boys did receive some punishment at times, which was unwarranted, And then you had the mother, who was a control freak and a fanatic religious person, So it's, if you look at those personality traits, just follow, it starts in the childhood, and it ends up coming out nasty during the ages between their teens all the way into adulthood. Mm-hmm. And it's very common.
Now, where is Ed Gein buried again?
I don't think it mentioned it.
I think he's buried in the Plainfield Cemetery.
Right, actually, you're right. He is buried in the Plainfield Cemetery.
But wasn't there some sort of story about his tombstone?
Look at.
It was said that people.
Took pieces of his.
His tombstone was he's buried in Plainfield Cemetery in Plainfield, Wisconsin, which is ironically, I think it's only like an hour and a half from here.
Yeah.
And anyway, and people kept hearing about about him, so they would go and visit, and they would chip off a piece of his tombstone as like
souvenir.
As a souvenir, and then one time someone went as far as just to steal the whole thing.
Right.
They're just like, nope, screw it, we're taking the whole thing.
Well, and when you have a fan club like that, I'm just wondering why.
Well, I wouldn't really call it a fan club. I would just say people who are
enthralled
with the story, like if they find it interesting,
Like they're celebrities. These serial killers are celebrities.
Exactly. They're infamous. They're infamous because, well, you know what the difference between famous and infamous is? People who are famous for a good reason. People who are famous but not for good reasons are known as being infamous.
I'm well aware of that.
Oh, you knew that?
Yes.
Okay. Why didn't you say anything then?
Well, you didn't give me a chance.
Oh, sorry. But then anyway, so yeah, someone went as far as just to take the whole gravestone, and then it went missing for a while, but then it was recovered in Seattle, Washington, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was, I believe that it was recovered in Seattle, Washington, and then it, now it's like, I don't think it's sitting in a museum, but it's sitting, it's not, let's just put it this way.
You're right. I hear.
His, over the years, souvenir seekers would chip off pieces of his gravestone, and then the bulk of it was stolen in 2000. And it was recovered in June of 2001 near Seattle, and it's currently kept in storage. So basically,
so they never actually Now we don't know whether it was replaced by another tombstone or
exactly that's the question. Was it replaced with another tombstone? Because we've never been there, so we don't know. And I mean, the whole thing is basically. I highly doubt the original one is still there because obviously it's in storage or whatever. But I mean, I wonder if I can find it on findagrave.com.
Go for it.
Let's see. Find a grave. Let's see if it's on there because yeah, I am very curious to know if it's millions of cemetery records. Yes.
Or just ask for Ed Gein's.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Edward.
Middle name is Thomas, right?
Well, sure, we'll put Thomas in there. All right, Plainfield.
I think it's Thomas. I read it off.
I know it's that. I know it's Thomas, but Plainfield.
You know nothing. No.
Plainfield.
Wisconsin, yes.
Yeah, but it will not let me type in Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, Theodore. So it's.
Oh, it is Theodore.
Yeah, I knew it was a T.
Yeah, I knew it was too. All right, we're just gonna get rid of that, and we're just gonna hit search. All right, Edward Theodore Gein.
That's it.
There it is, Edward Gein, Plainfield Cemetery. See if it'll actually show. Oh, there is his
Holy
gravestone.
crap! You're putting this on the website then?
I'll have to, yeah.
Oh, that's all they have left.
Either that's. Oh, look at all this stuff written on there.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, my question is, I don't know. I mean, these people that collect these souvenirs from these serial killers, I mean, what are they really saying about themselves? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, there's no morality behind that. If you collect a souvenir of a person that hurt or murdered a lot of people,
I'm gonna guess that this must be like the gravestone that went missing or something.
the original one.
Yeah, the original one because on this other photo, these two are his parents, but then there's just a small one here that.
Look at it. Can you enhance it a little?
I'm gonna try to get in there more.
It almost looks like wood.
Hold on a second. See if I can get. Nope, I can't get in there.
That's fine. That's good. Right here. That's fine.
Yep, that's regular.
So, yeah, he was buried next to both his parents. And it looks like the replacement is like I don't know if it's a real thin slab of granite, or if it's actually just wood. Because it almost looks wood-like.
It says there's 3 images here. Oh, there's him. And then there's the one that was, what I assume was,
And he died in 1984.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd because I don't think it's...
Oh, here's another picture of it.
Oh, yeah. It looks like it got a cross on it.
It does look like it has a cross. Well, his parents were religious, weren't they?
Of course.
Look at this right here. There's a little thing that says "Guns don't kill people." I swear to God, this is not a political. This is not a political thingy right here. It literally says it on here.
It's on actually the tombstone, the original tombstone.
It says "Guns don't kill people," and it says like 1/170 or something like that. I can't really tell what that says exactly.
You sure?
Oh, and then there's another engraving here that says "Evil never dies."
Wow, people are messed up, I'm telling you.
And then there's an actual sentence here, but I cannot tell what it says.
So basically, people have written, literally, either they've written it with permanent marker.
That does look like wood.
It's wood. It's definitely wood.
Yeah. Anyway.
Either permanent marker or actually engraved a few things into his, what's it called? Into his tombstone.
Yeah. So my guess, this is the original one.
Yeah.
And this is what it was replaced with, just a 2x4.
Temporary, yeah, temporary.
Yeah.
It's got his,
it's
got a cross on top of it. And then,
but doesn't it look like that's written on with like permanent marker?
Yep, and it says Edward Gein.
1906 to 1984.
Yep.
So yeah, it looks like it was literally written on with permanent marker.
No, that looks like it was branded, like maybe wood burn.
Oh, you mean like someone
wood burning? Was the hot.
Does it?
Like a hot pen. Yeah, that definitely.
Oh, that's his house right there.
Yeah, that definitely. It was wood burned, and that could be probably from a relative that did that.
Because I mean, it's obviously it's cheaply made, but then again, I mean, you guys, you know how much tombstones cost these days.
Yeah, well, as I said, when I pass into the better life, Cremate me. That's it.
Yeah, that. It's a very and there's no base on it. It looks like
like a steak type.
Yeah, it looks like it was just pounded right into the ground like that.
Which most likely it's 2x4 that has like a pinpoint ending.
How do you think they would have? How do you think that they would have wood burned that though?
It's easy to wood burn in any type of material. I do it all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Just like take like something that's like a very hot needle and then just start drawing something?
No, a wood burner. It's like it looks like it's plastic top, and then it has a little thick type of almost like a needle. All right, and then it
gets
goes
super
like
hot.
this.
I'm guessing.
Oh God, yes. I mean, if you put it on your skin, it'll burn.
Go right through it, I assume.
Well, yeah. If you push, it would burn its way through your hand. But with wood burning, you can do really fine art with it.
I suppose because, actually, come to think, but now if that was written out with like permanent marker, that would probably become very. Yeah, that would probably be gone already.
No, it's wood burned. I can see by the way it looks and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a temporary marker. I don't think it was meant to be there forever.
Right.
Because after a while, with weather, between rain and snow,
chances are that the actual tombstone is still here in Wisconsin. Is probably just in storage somewhere in Plainfield, because obviously the family owns that.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. This could be the city too.
Yeah.
What? Could be in storage by the city because it was stolen.
But it's but the family is the one that buys the tombstone, so technically it's the property of
the tombstone was already bought, okay, and then it was stolen, so it became so most likely it became property of the city.
Okay.
And they put it in storage until they whatever investigation they had.
Right.
Because it's a case of theft, really, and it ended up all the way in Seattle.
I guess it ended all the way up in Seattle.
The person must have come over there and went to Plainfield, and then probably in the middle of the night, the individual took somehow unburied the bottom of it.
Right. Now this right here is apparently
the property.
The Ed Gein's house.
What is that in the back? It looks like a swimming pool now.
It is a swimming pool. Now my question is, you would have to think that somebody had to have just demolished the house and then built a brand new house over it, because unless you're like an insane thrill seeker who loves this stuff, who would want to move into that house knowing that one of the most famous serial killers in history lived in there?
Most infamous?
Most infamous. As he winks at me.
Yeah, because you were explaining to us the difference earlier.
I was actually, yeah. What road is this anyway?
I have no idea.
Let's see. I'm on Ed Gein house address. Because I want to see if we can see this on Street View.
That'd be awesome.
The site of Ed house. So it says Ed's house was bulldozed after. Wait. It said it mysteriously burned down in 1958, 4 years after he died. Wait.
No, he died in 84.
84 was it? Oh yeah, 84. Now I'm mad. Scratch that.
So, a year after he was actually arrested for his crime. A year later, it was burned down.
My guess is that somebody burned it. Somebody had to have done arson on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. After you become a serial killer, you end up developing a lot of enemies.
Oh yeah.
And it could have been because the first woman Mary Hogan, and then you had Bernice.
Yeah.
What was her last name? Bernice something. Morgan. Bernice Morgan.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it should be the next.
Bernice Warden.
Warden. I'm sorry. Okay, Bernice Warden.
Yeah.
So you had two families that lost a loved one, and then it was so brutal.
So yeah. So really, it didn't just mysteriously burn down. They know how it burned down. It's just they don't know who burnt it down. Because it should be obvious that someone clearly burnt it down. because they were pissed basically.
Well, it could obviously anger was involved.
Yeah, but people still seek the spot where he practiced his peculiar form of carnage. So obviously there's no present address for it because he clearly.
But there is a property on a building on top of where the old building used to be. And I'm sure the people living there know this.
Probably, but I mean,
we should contact them and see if they have any activity there. Paranormal activity?
Well, I mean, I don't 100% know if... I don't know if this is the actual property. All I know is, see, it opened to... the map opened to this, so anywhere around here is where his house was located. So, for all we know, no one ever built back over that property. For all we know, it's basically just...
Okay, so right now is a big question whether the house we were looking at was the site of the original home.
Exactly. Now, with... It says, for directions, it's I-39, you take exit 136, and then you take a west on Highway 73 a little over a mile, and then you take a left, which is south, on Highway KK, and then after 2 miles, you turn right on Archer Ave, and the former Gein property is 1 mile west at the southwest corner of Archer and 2nd Aves. No trespassing signs are on almost every tree on the property that lines Archer. The driveway is overgrown and blocked by a chain with a wooden sign that reads, Fisher.
Fisher as in F-I...
Like a last name Fisher.
So these are the people living there now?
Yeah, so...
So what does that say? I mean, does it say...
Wait, it says right here, there's a story. It says, last week my boyfriend and I... Now, I'm talking this from a story out here, not talking this from myself. It says...
I don't even know if you have to say that.
Okay. Last week, it says, last week my boyfriend and I traveled to Ed Gein's house. We actually used roadsideamerica.com to find the location of his house, and it was very helpful. However, when we got there, all we saw were tons of trees cut down. We were on the corner of Archer and 2nd. We did see a dirt path, and everything was overgrown. The gate was not locked, so we drove through it. It led to an opening where tons of trees were being cut down. Now, either the directions were wrong, or the house was torn... Well, yeah, the house was torn down. We just said that.
Well, they probably didn't know.
Probably not. Yeah. But we did not see the house Ed Gein lived in, no, because it burned down in 1958. We were told later later on that his house had burned down a couple of months after he was arrested. Yeah, because it says it was burned to the ground on March 27th, 1958, shortly after it was learned that an entrepreneur planned to open it as a tourist attraction called the House of Horrors.
So that's why the person burned it, whoever it was?
No, it said that an entrepreneur had wanted to turn his house into a museum as a tourist attraction called the House of Horrors. But before he could make it happen, it burned to the ground.
Interesting.
So this guy wanted to make money off of it.
But does it say whether or not he owned it at the time?
No, it says shortly after it was burned down, it was learned that an entrepreneur had planned to open it as a tourist attraction called the House of Horrors. Now also this story that this woman writes on here about her and her girlfriend visiting, this was written 12 years ago.
You mean. Her boyfriend.
Yeah, what did I say?
Girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Even if she was,
yeah,
what we're talking about.
But yeah, it just says that. Let's see, and then also there's a murderous goal Ed Gein's grave 4 miles away.
What?
It said, "Don't go expecting to see a serial killer goal's tombstone, which has long since..."
It says ghoul.
That's what I said. What did I say?
Ghost.
I said goal. Or ghoul.
Ghoul.
Okay. I'll start over. Don't go expecting to see a serial killer ghoul's tombstone, which has long since been removed, which we knew, and we talked about.
Yeah.
Ed's space is in between the other Geins. And then there's just the directions again. So visitor tips are...
That's weird.
Reports and tips from RoadsideAmerica.com. It just says that some tips may not be verified.
Now, let's talk about that. We're looking at an image of two tombstones.
I have the story in my...
And a pumpkin head.
Yeah. I have this story in my Wisconsin Road Guide to Haunted Locations, but I don't know if it's down here or not. I don't know. Keep talking, David.
So what? I'm just surprised they call him a ghoul. Now a ghoul is a mythical creature.
Right.
Similar to a troll, but much smaller.
I have a book called...
I guess they call him a ghoul because he's so evil.
I have a book called The Wisconsin Road Guide to Haunted Locations, and Ed Gein's story is in this.
Hey, you gotta face this way in order to...
Oh, but I cannot, I think they can still hear me, but I cannot find it in there, which is weird. But anyway, I'm just gonna, like, kind of, talk about, it says, the cemetery is still a little eerie. Let's see. Oh!
Are those the original pictures?
These, or no, that's still his gravestone.
Yeah, you see the cross there?
That's probably before it was taken. But yeah, anyway, and then, now I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this, but we shall see. Just go to unexplainedresearch.com. This is a site that I always used to go to see my like haunted stories and whatnot. And then you click on down here, click on research files on spectrology, and then Wisconsin, and then you go to Plainfield, which is likely not on here because the stuff that's not on here is in the book. Yeah, Plainfield, Ed Gein's Homestead, and Plainfield Cemetery. There's this one other site, but I can't think of it as. But I can't. I haven't been to this site in a long time, so I cannot think of what it is. It's something. Yeah, I can't think of what it is at all. But anyway, we got like 2 minutes left in the episode.
Just wondering, what were you trying to achieve with this last bit?
I was trying, because there is a ghost story that surrounds Ed Gein's gravesite.
His gravesite?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have an update in the future?
Ghost story, Ed Gein's gravesite.
Or not.
I think I just got it. Alright, with just a little bit left, I'm gonna try to... Okay, so that wasn't it either.
Well, at least you're trying.
Yep, I tried. I haven't been to this site in a long time that I can find this on, so it's a little difficult, but it's like Spirit Land or something like that.
Okay.
That I was trying to get to, but I cannot find it. It might be... No, because that's music. Yeah, I don't know if it's just not up anymore or what, but we'll talk.
Less than a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about it some other time.
Well, if you have any information yourself or experience with a serial killer, feel free to email us, call us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
This is Josh.
414-949-5778.
I'm David, and Josh right next to me, and we definitely appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Don't forget to go like our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Social Factor Podcast. Definitely share that page with your friends. So we can, definitely
have more listeners.
Have more listeners and share all this information with you, all this research and whatnot. So you all have a great night, and we will see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.